Hey guys, it's Prisma, and in this video I'm going to be talking about weapon sights in Siege and explaining which one might be best for you depending on your playstyle. So first let's talk about ACOG. ACOG is a 2.5 multiplication scope, which means when you aim, everything is 2.5 times closer than normal. And you might think to yourself that this is good because you can see enemies further away and you can see tighter angles, and although you're not wrong, it has its downsides. The main downside is its disadvantage up close. Because of the 2.5 zoom, enemies are very large up close, which can make it harder to kill the enemy because it's harder to adjust the aim when they move around. So here's an example. So I killed the doc from a really tight angle thanks to ACOG, then Bandit comes running around a corner thinking that I'm still in the upper part of the staircase, and I barely react fast enough to shoot him in the head before he hits me. But after killing Bandit, I see Mute to this rotational, and after taking a few shots at Mute, I realize that I have to reload soon, so I try to hurry and reload before he pushes me, but by the time I get the reload off, it is too late. So now he is very close to me with a shotgun, and as you can see here, ACOG is terrible in this situation because we are moving so much. It is hard for me to hit his head because of how long it takes me to adjust my aim. And right here is the reason why ACOG is sometimes a disadvantage up close. And you can make the argument that I'm just trash, but this happens so much to everybody that it has kind of become a fact that ACOG is a disadvantage up close. This is the reason why ACOG isn't always the greatest. So I would recommend ACOG for people who like to have an advantage at holding angles and peeking people who are holding angles and who aren't that aggressive often. So I'm going to give each of the sights a rating out of its functionality, and for ACOG, long range I'd put it 5 out of 5. Short range I'd put ACOG at about 2 out of 5. Precision, I'd put it 5 out of 5 just because of the 2.5 zoom and how big further objects are. And I would give holding angles 5 out of 5 because there's probably angles that the enemy can't see just because of the 2.5 zoom. So next is holographic. Holographic is a one-time sight, so it has very little zoom, and I personally think holo is the most diverse sight due to its little zoom and small red dot in the middle. And because of this little zoom, it is great and easy to use in close gunfights, but because of the small red dot in the middle of the sight, it makes it easier to win longer range gunfights, and in the right hands can compete with ACOG. This also makes the sight better holding pixel peaks than any other of the one-time sight because of the small red dot in the center of the reticle. If I had to say there was a downside to holo, it would have to be that it's slightly on the bulkier side, but overall it is a great sight. So I'd recommend holographic to people who see themselves in more close range gunfights, but who also want to be more precise when shooting down range and holding tighter angles. So now my ratings for holographic, I'd put long range at about 4 out of 5, short range at about 4 out of 5, precision 5 out of 5, and holding angles 4 out of 5. Next is reflex, which is a bit of a weird sight because the reticle is a triangle. And unlike the other sights, the bullets don't hit in the center of the shape. This is similar to ACOG in how the bullets hit the tip of the reticle. This sight does have a slim sight, so you get to see a lot more of your surrounding when aiming because of this, and it's good for very close gunfights. I would recommend reflex to people who don't care about the actual shape of the sight and just who like that extra bit of visibility they have up close due to the thinness of the sight, and people who kind of play slightly more aggressive. So now the ratings for reflex. I would put long range at about 3 out of 5, short range at about 5 out of 5, precision 3 out of 5, and holding angles 3 out of 5. Now we're going to talk about red dot. Red dot is a bit of a simple sight because the reticle, as the name implies, is just a red dot. And this might sound good because it is straightforward, but its biggest downside is how large the red circle is. Because of its size, it makes it difficult to hold tighter angles. The dot could cover the enemy's head because of the size of it, and similar to holographic sight, it is a bit on the bulky side. Now, this sight isn't that bad up close, but it is definitely harder to use at longer ranges and tight angles. I personally wouldn't recommend this sight to anybody because there's simply just better options. But if you use this sight, then keep on doing you because the sights you use all come down to personal preferences and situations. And for the ratings, I'd put long range at about 2 out of 5, short range at about 4 out of 5, precision 2 out of 5, and holding angles 1 out of 5. So if you do want to get better with sights in general, I would practice on knowing, by heart where the center of your screen is and always focusing there, because this is where the bullets will always shoot and always land. So if you know by heart where the center of your screen is, it could help you get really good shots. So I'm going to touch a bit on iron sights because they're almost never used because most of them are worse than the sights that you can actually put on them. Like look at Buck's weapon right here. I would never want to use this because it is just awful compared to like an ACOG or a holographic that I can throw on it. But some iron sights aren't that bad, like Nomads and Bandits. So if I were you, I wouldn't use iron sight unless there is one that you specifically like, but other than Nomad and Bandit, I personally wouldn't touch them. And now we're going to talk about, yes, the Russian sights. So quick rundown of these sights. We first start off with Reflex, and this is a very good sight because of how much visibility you have due to the thin frame of the scope and most of it being glass. Because of this, you get to see a lot when you're aiming down sight, so all around a great scope, not the most accurate, but it's still a very good scope. So for Reflex, I'd put long range at about 4 out of 5, short range 5 out of 5, precision 3 out of 5, and holding angles 3 out of 5. Next is Hollow, and it's kind of a weird sight because there's no part of the reticle in the center, and this couldn't make it perfect for holding angles because you'll get a clear view of what you could see. And because of this gap, it could be harder to hit, let's say, heads down long range because you kind of have to like be very precise on where the middle of your screen is because there's nothing there. Unlike holographic where there is a dot in the center. So my ratings for Hollow, I'd put long range at about 2 out of 5, short range 4 out of 5, precision 2 out of 5, and holding angles 2 out of 5. And now we're going to talk about the Russian red dot. The Russian red dot is a lot better than the other red dot because the reticle of the dot is actually smaller, so it's more viable at like holding angles, being more precise, getting long range kills than it is the other one. So my rating for red dot, I'd put long range at about 3.5 out of 5, short range at 4 out of 5, precision 3.5 out of 5, and holding angles 3.5 out of 5. So I use 3.5 out of most of my ratings here because the circle in it, it isn't too big, but it's also not too small, not like holographic, so it's not, you know, as bad as red dot, but it's not as good as hollow, so I think 3.5 is a very good middle ground. And finally, we have the Russian ACOG. So it's almost like a red dot ACOG hybrid. You do have the, you know, not crazy small, but not crazy big red dot in the middle. And it is a 2.5 zoom, similar to the original ACOG. So because of the small little red dot, it kind of makes it a bit harder to be very precise and also hold very sharp angles. So I think it's slightly worse than the, you know, the other ACOG, but it's not that bad. So my ratings for the Russian ACOG, I would put long range at 5 out of 5, short range at about 2 out of 5, precision 4 out of 5, and holding angles 4 out of 5. And that is all. If you guys did enjoy the video, please hit that like button below. It would mean a lot. This video did take some time and effort to put together, so I would really appreciate it. And please subscribe. We are very close to 100 subscribers, and I just can't wait to hit this very awesome milestone. And comment down below if you want me to do another video like this on Siege, and also comment down below if you have different opinions on, like, let's say my rating on a certain site or anything like that. And yep, that is all, guys. Have a great day.